It's more triangular.
Yeah, you feel grounded, you feel centered?
I feel more triangular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good place to be.
Yeah.
Hello, the Sonic City Council is now in session. Thank you once again for inviting us into your headphones, your car, your home, your mind. Wherever you may be listening to us, we appreciate you. Davey Sipes, how are you, sir?
Davidson.
Oh, yes.
How's it going?
It's good. I'm here talking with you, ready to talk to an exciting guest.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pumped. I'm feeling good.
Good. I hate to tell everybody I lost a lot of blood on the way here.
Oh, man.
We're going to find it before the episode's over. You can hit that thing. I don't know what just happened. Are you okay? I guess both of us are injured.
No,
Perhaps gravely.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I don't know if we'll cut that or not, but I was trying to hold a straight face and you were like, oh man.
Close.
Yeah, so close.
Just about nailed it. Do you want to do another hello and then see how you feel?
No. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
How are you today, sir?
I'm constantly questioning, endlessly searching for meaning in a complex situation of ones and zeros.
You're Simba.
Simba?
Yeah.
Like the Lion Cub?
Well, yeah. You know, in that movie.
Continue this metaphor.
The one about the kings and their lions and stuff.
That sounds like the Bible.
It might be.
Okay.
It's the part where Simba's like talking to the sky and he's like, "Why
Sky
am
Dad?
I here?" Yeah, Sky Dad.
Copy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know. I was trying
Sounds
to
like a Terminator.
Yeah.
Sky Dad.
I don't know. It just sounded funny to me in the moment. I'm questioning a lot of things and I'm like, "Oh, you're Simba."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of Simba questions to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woof.
Like, why do these hyenas keep talking to me?
That's fair. Why
Yeah.
do they keep talking to me?
Yeah. Well,
The son of Sam is hyena talk to him.
Really?
That's all I got.
Oh, all right.
Like I said.
Like I went Lion King and you went.
I'm supposed to have 8 pints and I have like 3.
Okay.
Very faint heartbeat. Yeah.
Okay.
Not well, but I'm happy to see you.
Oh, I'm happy.
And I never miss a podcast.
Well, hey,
No matter how close to death.
Take note, as far as dedicated podcast hosts.
Remember Bryan Adams?
Yeah.
Everything I do?
Yeah. I was going to say, he's the good one. We still like Bryan Adams. He didn't get canceled.
Did he get canceled?
No, Ryan Adams Ryan Adams, I guess, was a creep.
Could you imagine how many people inadvertently canceled Bryan Adams?
Yeah.
Because they thought, I'm not going to let him treat Mandy Moore like that.
Yeah.
And they'd be right, but unfortunately they'd be taking out on the wrong man.
But then he's just like, hey, I just wrote sort of an innuendo song about a year that's also a sex position. Don't slam me. Summer of '69, dude.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
I was just like, how did
I had to learn that song.
I was like, Bryan Adams don't talk about no sex positions.
No,
bro.
but he said me and
I see what you mean.
Yeah, he was talking. It was me and my baby in a '69, like a car, but we know.
That's not in the song.
It is.
It doesn't say me and my baby in a '69.
Yeah, that's what it said on the little Spotify lyric genius that
Bryan
popped up
Adams,
as I
you
was
don't have to
learning.
be canceled. That was way long ago, and it meant the same thing, dog, and you knew it.
Well, I was
Canadians.
Yeah, or Brian, you have an open invitation to come on this podcast.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
I'll be polite.
Yeah. Well,
I'll say sorry.
You heard it here first. Yes. I see what you did.
You see what I did.
So
buttons.
Ooh, buttons.
Yeah.
We are here today.
Ding, segue.
Yes.
I'm trying a new thing.
So we taped this podcast in the Antelope Valley, as you could see by my hand gestures, and
That's oddly charming.
Yeah, this valley is about.
You just poked it.
Yeah, poking at it.
Danger
Just do
Valley.
this. This valley is about an hour, roughly north of Los Angeles, and so
Depends on which way you take.
yeah, there's a lot of not just talented people that grow up here, but there's a lot of people that when they are tired of living in LA that have been in the music business for years, they sort of retire up here. So they're still able to commute and get to gigs that they have to get to, but They're not living in the city or living in a suburban neighborhood of LA. So
Even more than that, I'd say it's true, we are that archetype kind of place, but this place has a storied history of either being a place of refuge from the industry, because we've always been this close to the industry town.
Yeah.
Oh, it's also been a place to escape from towards the industry.
Yeah, it was sure.
John Wayne grew up here.
Yes.
The lady.
Lucille Ball.
Did she maybe? I was thinking Judy Garland.
Oh,
she
Judy-
definitely grew up here.
I mixed those up.
Lucille
Never
Ball is
mind.
super awesome.
Scratch.
Pretty sure she grew up in New York.
Yeah, scratch that.
The man himself. Both the men. Don Van Fleet.
Oh,
Francis
Frank
Zappa.
Yeah, Francis Zappa.
I love that Francis Zappa.
Yes.
His music is fancy.
It is. It's very fancy. It's
Like Iggy Azalea.
yeah.
What were we saying?
I was about to say that today we have a guest on who is one of those people who, was in many different music scenes over the years, including LA, and session drummer for many different people. And this is John Beedo Dzubak today. And everybody calls him Beedo, and he got...
If you were confused by that intro, he goes by Beedo.
Yeah, so just to be formal with the full name, but Beedo is coming in today to talk to us, and he has played with the Soul Survivors. They even have a song named after him, Beedo, and so that's
Beedo!
Yeah.
It sounds just like Lido by Boss Cat.
Yes, or Star Wars. I always think of a Greedo possible reference there. Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure we'll get into how he gets his nickname when he gets, or how he got his nickname. But playing with the Soul Survivors, Etta James for a number of years, and just all sorts of different session situations, and playing in New York and Philly, and then all sorts of stuff like that. So he's got a book called Life is a Journey. So if you want to check that out, the link will be in the description up there below. And he's also got a new band with past podcast guest.
Past podcast professional.
Yes, Mark Burgess. So if you want to go back into the archives and scroll back a little bit, you'll find Mark's episode. Mark has been a staple of the AV music scene for years in his own right. And so when Beedo moved up here and retired, they naturally joined forces, and they have this band called LA Southbound. So they got 2 albums out so far, and I'm sure we'll get into that somewhat. And
you recall when chocolate met peanut butter.
Exactly.
It's
That's
one of
what
those
I'm
type
saying.
of things, people.
That's
so
what
if
I'm
you
saying.
don't know about it, when you listen to it, you'll be like, I see what happened there.
And not to insert myself into this equation.
Oh, but we might as well now.
Yeah, I've been playing bass for some of the songs that they have, and
nice.
so we were doing a little bit of a thing here today, or going to be doing a little bit of a thing here today, I should say.
You were tracking songs.
Yeah. Well, I've done that a couple times here now, and so I figured since Beeto's coming into the studio... Beedo! Get him in here after, we do our thing, and then, yeah.
Legally, it's entrapment, but as your attorney...
You are my attorney.
For the sake of the podcast, I'm completely on board with this unethical choice.
Yeah. All right. Well,
entrapment.
Hey,
yeah.
If you can...
He didn't think of it as such, so you're in the clear.
Yeah, if you can better call Saul my way out of this horrible entanglement I've gotten myself into, then...
Snap.
I
have no retort.
That's why I have you... See, retort. That's why you're my attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know retort law.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Exactly.
Where's the gong? And the hook to remove me for being a cheese ball. That's a gavel.
I was going to say, I could do a little bit.
I'm not good at a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I can tell you, that's not hook.
No, it's the best I got.
Unequivocally, I'm not even sure if I got that right. Doesn't matter. Everybody understood what I meant.
That's okay.
By the time you say equivoca, you know what I mean.
Yeah, you have a medical reason. It's fine.
I have a doctor's note.
So before Davey passes out, let's get into it.
Thanks.
Hey. All right, Beedo. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Here I am all the way live.
Yeah, all the way live,
All the
man.
way live.
Yeah, we just got, the 2 of us just got done doing a little video shoot in the next room for your band, LA Southbound, and doing a little bit of a promo video with Mark Burgess, who has also been a guest on this podcast. So guitar,
Right.
yeah, guitar player extraordinaire.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, we figured while you're here, might as well just snag you for about an hour or so, get you on the couch and swap some stories and get some wisdom out of you.
Find out the truth.
Yeah.
As you don't know it to be.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So where to begin?
The truth is, I'm wild and crazy still, man.
Yeah,
still.
Yeah. Well,
so, as time goes by.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, we've got a lot to cover with, your career playing with Etta James and Dr. John and Soul Survivors. And I was going to say, I didn't forget about Dr. John.
Okay.
But something I want to ask you about before we get into any of that. On the back of your book here that you put out, which is Life is a Journey.
Life is a journey.
Yeah. You've got I will read from the back of this book here. He's a guy who is a part of the Fun People's Club. Now, I am not a member of this club yet, but I'm intrigued. What is the Fun People's Club?
What is the Fun People's Club? Okay. Yeah. See, the old bohemian hippies.
Yeah.
The Lower East Side, 6th Street and 2nd Avenue, New York City, kind of Lower East Side. Talking about that, I got a tune that's going to be on this next CD, and it's about the Lower East Side. It's called 6th Street and 2nd Avenue.
Nice.
I don't know how I ran off on that, but
go for it.
That's what the Fun People Club is, because we used to just mash the streets, and at that time it was like, I guess I'm bearing my age now with this. It was in the late 60s.
Okay.
From 66
Quite a
till
time.
about, 67, 68, and 69.
Yeah.
That was it, man.
Yeah.
That was the time. At that time, I was working in a band. Well, it was a band called Kingdom Come. The 6th Street and 2nd Avenue, right on the corner, was the Fillmore East. Well, at that time was called the Village Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And the Village Theater, everybody passed through there, man. I mean, that's where the Doors came through there, Clapton and Stevie Winwood, and it all. And anyway, the Kingdom Come was a keyboard player and myself. There was just the two of us.
Okay.
And the owner, manager, the guy that ran that theater, it was like 3,500 people would pack that theater.
Yeah.
But
still playing drums at that time, right?
Yeah. And anyway, we opened. We opened for everybody that came through there.
Yeah.
And Doors, Ginger Baker. Oh, I got stories that could.
Ginger Bloody Baker.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
So you were like a house band there.
We were the house band.
Yeah. Okay.
That's sick.
Kingdom Come. We were the house band, and for 9 months, it ran for 9 months.
Wow.
And we, Herbie Mann, we did an album called The Fifth Word.
Okay.
And that was the keyboard player, Jerry Novak, was the guy who came up with, he wrote everything. And at that time, the big thing was like 2 bass drums.
Oh,
and stack your cymbals up.
Yeah.
And, I even got into it more at that time because Eric Clapton and the Cream came through there. And I got to hang with Ginger Baker for a while. How I met him is, I got a story, man.
Well, hey, lay it
story
on
time,
me.
brother.
Okay, so anyway, the curtains were down. He's laying on the floor and sleeping in the backstage, and I'm going through the backstage trying to get to the other side where some of my drums were over there, and I was telling the roadie what to put out.
Yeah.
So I didn't see somebody laying down there. It was real dark.
Oh, yeah.
And so I tripped over him. He was laying. I tripped over. He got up and he started his cockney. Oh, you goddamn mate, you shitting. But what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, man. Ginger. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Fuck you, mate. Get out of here. Leave me alone. I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
So that was my first introduction to Ginger Baker.
Yeah.
Sounds
We
about right.
became kind of buddies after that, talking, and I asked him how you stack those cymbals, and he gave me some ideas, and he was a character. He was one of a kind, man.
Yeah.
He was certainly a wild guy.
Yeah. Well, after watching
He
that.
was like fucking Merlin, like literally,
Yeah.
like from way out in the
Well,
I
after
don't know, he just seemed so intense.
Well, after watching that Beware of Mr. Baker
right.
documentary.
Yas King.
That's him.
Yeah, I was
That's
going to say,
him, man.
whacked that reporter in the nose and like split it open with his cane, and then he's just like, get out of my house. And then, that was the start of the movie. It's like, well, this is going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah,
That's some heavy shit.
Yeah.
He was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another wild story from that theater
Sure,
was
please.
when we opened once again for the Doors. Okay, and the old theater it was. Once Bill Graham bought it, he kind of refurbished it and turned it into a whole nother kind of venue.
Yeah.
Because the Fillmore West was, out in San Francisco. It was out west. And then this turned into Fillmore East. But anyway, okay, back to the story with the Doors. So Jim Morrison comes on stage when they open. The announcer comes out and says, the Doors, Jim Morrison. Well, he hung on to the curtain and went up as the curtain went up. It went up about 30 feet. It must have been at least 25, 30 feet.
Yeah.
And he hung on all the way, and he was screaming, and, yeah, we're here,
Yeah.
all the way up right to the top, man. And then he dropped and hit the stage. And I thought for sure he broke an arm or a leg or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we fell as
But
far
he,
as Zappa.
yeah.
That's as far as Zappa fell, man. Like some 30 feet shit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy. That what happened though.
Yeah, but he got up and they started with one of their tunes. I forget exactly, but they were mysterious.
How did they sound as far as you could recall that night? Were they all right? Because I know they were various from time to time.
I was really I was surprised how they had it all together, man. Because there was a lot of smoke going on, and it was weed,
Yeah.
Man.
Everybody was going crazy, So I thought, wow, this shit is going to be off the wall for sure.
Yeah.
But it was tight. It was, what they are.
Yeah.
And he didn't get hurt. He got up, and he just started running back and forth across the stage, and it was a good show. It was a good show.
Wow.
That's sick.
Yeah. Well, so taking it back a step further, so this is by the time you've already been playing, been working, but I want to find out, like, what was your first introduction to the drums? What drew you to playing music? And so what was your sort of background with that?
Yeah, okay. I came from, my father was an alto sax player.
Sweet.
He a jazz guy, right? He was big band, Claude Thornhill. Wow, that's back in like the 30s or 40s, right?
Okay.
My dad played in that band, Claude Thornhill band. He played second chair with Sid Caesar was first chair, and my pop was second chair. So he used to tell me stories about Sid Caesar and with big band, and I was already into music. I had that going on, man. I just felt that, that I don't know. There's a certain thing you get that, I guess it's because my pop was always blowing the horn and like that. And anyway, he wanted me to play the accordion, and he bought this accordion and he said, here. I took 2 lessons, and I was in school with the drums. I had started with like rudiments.
Yeah.
And I thought, geez, man, I hate this accordion, this squeeze box thing, man. This is terrible. Hey, Dad, what? Can you get me a set of drums? I want to play drums.
Yeah.
No, it's loud. We can't. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And I just kept pushing it. So by 11 years old, he bought me a set of drums, a 28-inch bass drum.
Whoa!
Oh, Ludwig, yeah, big-ass bass drum. And,
Went in big.
Yeah.
Way to go, Dad.
6.5-inch snare drum, and Zildjian cymbals.
Yeah.
I had one big Zildjian cymbal. And the hi-hats were these little 10-inch hats at that time. Really different, man.
Yeah.
But, I loved it. I just, I was 11 years old and got that set, and I started ripping it up, man. And he said, okay, you sound like that's what you want to do. You're going to take drum lessons.
Okay.
So, I started with the drum lessons. 12 years old, I was pretty hot. By 13, I had my own band. I put a band together with a keyboard player, a guitar player, and myself. And I called the band Johnny and the JDs. And I hooked up with the local in Albany. I grew up in Albany, New York.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so I hooked up with that local DJ his name was Boom Boom Brannigan. And he used to have these record hops. And he said, listen, I'm gonna use you guys for, the record hop. I'm gonna spin the records, and I want you to come along with me. And so we'd do the VFW and these little rock halls that he did. And that kept going. And music kept going and going like that. I didn't finish high school because I didn't like, we would go.
Yo, man, who needs it?
Yeah, hated it.
Some bullshit. It's on record, citizens. Drop out. Drop out now. Save your money. Get in the stock market, baby.
That was it. And what happened was I left home, man, at 17 because Pop used to take me to Manny's Music on 49th Street in New York City, to buy his reeds. And, I was traveling to New York with him, and I said, that's where I got to go. I don't belong here in this small town, Albany.
Yeah.
And I belong in this city. So at 17, I was supposed to go back to senior year in high school. No, I said, hey, I'm going. I'm leaving. My mother said, you can't leave. I said, Ma, I'm packing up. I got my drums with me. By that time, I had a nice set of Ludwig drums. And what happened is I took the drums, packed a suitcase, and I went to New York City. Wow. And I was like, I would have been 18 in about 4 more months. So crazy thing happened. I ran into a girl there that I knew from the school that I went to.
Right.
And she was about 4 or 5 years older than me. She was doing Broadway. She was on the stage, and I'm 1 in a million that you run into somebody like that in New York City. And I just so happened I did. So anyway, she said, where are you living? I said, not any. I mean, there's no place special. Why don't you move in with me? Come on, move in with me and you can get yourself together.
Wow.
So I start running myself around in the clubs, the Headliner, Peppermint Lounge, Metropole.
Oh, Metropole Cafe.
And Metropole Cafe, exactly. So, all of a sudden, people started to get to know me, man. His wagon wheel was another on 45th Street. That was right up from the Peppermint Lounge. So anyway, I'd sit in and 3-4 songs, and everybody say, hey, man, why don't you, get something, go, you got to talk to someone. I mean, you're hot. You're a funky drummer. You got the pocket. So, so before I knew it, man, I was, I met this guy, Novak, who, at the Village Theater, this keyboard player, and he was downtown. at the Village Theater, and we started working that band, that Kingdom Come thing, and the Soul Survivors were starting to happen at that time.
Right.
You know, they their drummer, their original drummer that did that Expressway to Your Heart, right when the song came out, the tune came out, well, he decided, I don't want, I'm leaving the band. So they saw me at the Village Theater, and they came up to me and they said, listen, we need a drummer, man. We got a hit. We got a record that's out right now. And so that was the big gig, man.
Wow.
I got that gig, and before I knew it, I was on the road with them. We were traveling. I was all over.
You get caught up in a whirlwind after that.
In a whirlwind.
Yeah.
There I was, man.
So,
Mr. Big Shot.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
At about, 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And
The balls on that kid.
things
Yeah.
Ginormous,
Yeah.
people.
Well,
Wow.
Well, even just the courage to, say, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. And then leaving home, and I'm sure, getting some pushback. Sounds like getting pushback from your folks, and so just that's a lot to overcome right there.
Well, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was good enough to make the gig.
Yeah, clearly.
That's the cool part.
Yeah.
That's the cool part.
When the determination meets the talent, then you got something going.
Well, and so you're saying your dad was a jazz guy. So was there a push of, you can play music, but like you should go more towards jazz or a certain style and not modern music at that time?
At 16, he sent me to Storrs, Stan Kenton jazz clinics up in Storrs, Connecticut.
Okay.
So
nice.
I was introduced to jazz at that time with the Stan Kenton big band. It was like 6 weeks. I was away at that clinic up in Storrs. So I my reading. I was 16 years old, and my reading was I got sharp, and
nice.
I was playing big band, but I still had that feel for R&B, for soul, and that kind of music. So,
absolutely.
So, it just didn't interest me.
Yeah.
And I got into doing what I liked, funk.
Yeah.
And like that, man.
Yeah, and that was still, we're talking late 60s at this point with this.
Yeah.
So that, funk and that whole style is still relatively taboo, I think, in popular culture, right? Because I think they were talking about with Motown, like the Funk Brothers and Jamerson and that crew.
Yeah.
And then George Clinton starting Parliament and Funkadelic, which was around that time.
Yeah.
Like funk was still kind of like a no-no word and like a taboo thing.
Yeah.
Can you,
But Motown brought it all really about, more into play.
Mm-hmm.
And also at that time because I was still living with that keyboard player, Novak, on 6th Street and 2nd Avenue. And at that time, there was the late 60s. There was like all of that change in music also, like you were talking about. And it was a lot of hot musicians. Buzz Featon, who guitar player, and a lot of Paul Butterfield. He was working with Butterfield at the time, and so just knowing Buzzy. Buzz was a very popular guy at that time. He was working. He started, getting to be not only with Butterfield, but he was working with the Rascals at that time. They did that. What was it? Isle of Real. That was after the Rascals had kind of come to an end of that real, contemporary kind of stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
So Buzz started with them, and they did that Isle of Real with Alice Coltrane and a lot of badass players.
Yeah.
Robert Popwell was the bass player.
Okay.
Yeah, he was big at the time, and he was working with the Rascals at that time too. So anyway,
Yeah.
What happened was the '69, the Soul Survivors was kind of coming to an end, shutting down, and Buzz had, give me a call and said, listen, hey, Beedo, and the name Beedo came from one of the guys in the Soul Survivors. We were in a rehearsal, and, he said, listen, you got that bop, that style, the way you walk and the whole thing, zbip, zbop, the boop, the beat, the beat, man. How about I call you the beat? Wait a minute, the Beedo. And then here I go. I got this name, Beedo.
Yeah.
So Buzz calls, anyway, back to that story here. Buzz calls me and says, Beedo, listen, I'm up in Woodstock, okay, and we're putting a band together. Dave Sanborn, myself, Freddie Beckmeyer, and we need a drummer, man. And so Soul Survivors were coming to an end. I said, is that right? He said, yeah. You want to come up, man? We got a house. We're going to put this together. So that was
quite an invitation.
Yeah, quite an invitation. So up to Woodstock I went, and I was working with that was the band, Buzz Featon, Dave Sanborn, and the guy who carried us with salaries was a guy from the band called The Circle. He had Turned Down Day and Red Rubber Ball and like that. Well, anyway, he put me on a salary. He said, I'm paying everybody a salary. We're going to put this band together. He had a house on 28 acres of land and 5 bedrooms. It was an old wood frame house back in the woods. And anyway, my next 3 years was up in Woodstock with this band. And the band name was Bang.
Bang?
Yeah, Bang.
Bang.
Yeah.
B-A-N-G.
All right.
It really didn't take off, because everybody...
Nobody wanted to bang.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It sells itself.
I was going to say, it didn't go off with a bang.
Good luck, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So much for that. But, we played the local clubs up there. There was like 3 clubs, the Sled Hill, the Bear, and also at that time, the band was up there, Levon Helm.
Oh, yeah.
And the band was up there. Van Morrison was up there. Bonnie Raitt was up there. There was, all these folks. Jimi Hendrix lived at the top of Ohio Mountain, and we used to hear him screaming away all the time. But it was really, it was culture, man. It was so cool at that time.
Well, this would have been, if Soul Survivors was end of '69 and all that, this would have been like 70, 71, right? So then
it lasted up until '73.
Right. So all of this is right after, on the heels of the whole Woodstock festival, and so I'm sure there's a lot of fallout from that with the whole cultural movement going on up there.
Yeah, because all those folks had moved into this little town.
Wow.
That was just outside of, that's where the name Woodstock came from.
Right.
Because the concert was it was in that Kingston, New York area, in that field. And if you go up 28, I think Route 28 goes for about maybe 11, 12 miles, and there's this little town, Woodstock. So that's where the name and everything developed, and a lot of the people lived there. Like I said, Bonnie Raitt, the band, Van Morrison, Butter was up there, Butterfield was up there, Sanborn started his thing up there.
Yeah.
But anyway, this guy Tom Dawes, he was the bass player, guitar player in that Bang band, and he was a jingle writer in New York. He was like one of the top 3 jingle writers in New York. So the band would go into the city, into New York, and we'd record commercials for him. You know, we did like Clairol and American Airlines and Legs and all these. So we were staying alive on jingles too.
Yeah.
You know, but so they kept going, you know, for about 3 years. And in 73, just at the start of 73, what happened was I took Buzzy, Fred Beckmeyer, myself, and Steve Beckmeyer, Freddie's brother. He came up to Woodstock kind of later on in late 72, 73. So
Okay.
I took those 4 guys, and Charlie and Richie, the 2 singers from the Soul Survivors, we were in touch all the time, you know, and we stayed in touch, and they said, Beedo, we got to put a band back together. We got to do something, man. We got to do music.
Right.
You know, and I said, listen, I'm going to bring this band from Woodstock that I'm working with. I'm going to bring it into Philly and see what you think. So I took the guys and we all traveled into Philly, and we had a spot on 4th and South Street that was Kenny Gamble. Gamble and Huff.
Gamble and Huff.
Heard about, because they're the guys who wrote that song Expressway.
Yeah.
Expressway to Your Heart. So they had this storefront on 4th and South, and they said, put your band over here, rehearse for about a month. We want to hear what you come up with. So we did that. Gamble and Huff came by. They listened to us. They said, this is hot. This is going to happen again. We're going to get you guys happening again. So that's, at that time, is when we started working on the Brotherly Love album. The City of Brotherly Love was the single. It only got to number 28, but we were still in the Billboard Top 100.
Yeah.
You know, with the City of Brotherly Love tune.
Yeah, that's something.
So, 9 months we were in the studio with Kenny and Leon, and we put that record together, Soul Survivors, Brotherly Love.
Well, if I could stop you there, what's working with them like? Because I'm thinking the Sound of Philadelphia and Soul Train, and that's just such a rich history. So
For real.
I mean, obviously, being a long time ago, you don't have to go through exact specifics, but like a day in the studio, what would that be like as far as just working with those guys?
The greatest.
Yeah.
It's a big part of those 9 months. It was great. It was just because the people that came through that studio, Sigma Sound in Philly, it was like David Bowie came by to do his, what was it, American...
Young Americans?
Young Americans, yeah, he did. He was there for that. Gladys Knight came through and did recordings there. Jerry Butler came by. You know, at this time, the Intruders, the OJs, you know, they were all those tunes were being recorded. Money, 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 and Teddy Pendergrass. So it was another, wow. It was just, another time in my life that was wow.
Yeah.
Look at all these guys, man, who are. I mean, you look at all the records that came out of there.
Yeah.
Out of
Feels
Philly.
like the music scene that people don't talk about enough.
Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sound
People
of
sleep on
Philadelphia.
it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
They had big history.
Stylistics, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That got me growing up hard.
Stylistics, too.
Yeah.
They were part of that scene.
Yeah. So you're in the studio in that environment, and you're around some of the best, people in the world at what they do. When they're producing that track, are they giving you specific instructions on what to play, or is it just if they like what you did, they kept it?
If you look at that record, Kenny and Leon wrote one tune, out of the 12 tunes that were on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
They gave it to us. Take it away, guys. We hear what you're doing. We like what you're writing. You know, we're going to get behind it. Don't worry. So, you know, they let us come up with our own thing.
That's great.
They come by the studio every once in a while and, you know, turn maybe a beat around or something. Yeah, you got, this is a nice tune. But, hey, Beedo, why don't you try that? Because if you know at that time, if you listen, everything was that push on the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. A lot of those tunes were. So Kenny got in my ear with that, and my drumming style did change a little bit because I felt that that's what, you know, was happening at that time.
Right.
So. You know, a lot of our tunes had that Philly sound.
Yeah.
You know, which it was fun. It was good doing that. You know?
Yeah. Well, and I imagine too, it's like really that might be where a lot of the style shaping that happened with your playing came from, is those studio situations.
Yeah.
More than the live, would you say?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Because with moments like that, especially, this is obviously way before the internet and before you can necessarily have access to any sound you want at the drop of a hat. So you're getting exposed to what a New York sound is at that time because you were living there. And then moving to Philadelphia, that's a whole other style. And so being exposed to that, this is something that you're taking and incorporating into your playing now.
Yeah. So anyway, that went on until 76.
Yeah.
That lasted. You know, the record came out. We hit the road again. We were out, you know, wherever. You know, we did, I don't know, we go out on the road for maybe a month, come back to Philly, go out again for another month. You know, we did traveling through the States, but then it was kind of dying out. Everybody was falling out. Neil Larson was with us at that time, a keyboard player, and he left the band. He went to L.A. Freddie Beckmeyer, the bass player, he left the band. He went to L.A. And everybody, it seemed like there was a whole movement. You know, everybody's leaving now. They're going to L.A., man. Oh, okay. So I'm left here in Philly, and all my players are gone.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking more and more as time goes by, you know, wow, my guys are all gone. Wait a minute, I got to go back to New York. So I go back to New York City, and I run into this guitar player, Jimmy Knowles, who's Jimmy was, at that time, he was working with Alex Taylor. And I met him on a couple club gigs in New York City. In fact, it was the Wagon Wheel. And he said, listen, we need a drummer with Alex Taylor. We got a lot of work going on, man. I know your style is a little different, but you know, we got a rehearsal place. Alex is in need of a drummer bad, man. So, okay, you know, I go to Alex, I met him, we talked. He said, come on by the rehearsal studio. We had a rehearsal studio on 52nd, Midtown Manhattan. And we played a little bit, and he said, I like your style, Beedo. He said, it's going to work. It's going to work.
Yeah.
So we rehearsed for about a month. Went on the road with him for a couple of years with Alex Taylor. Actually, before we hit the road, went up to Martha's Vineyard, who at that time, James was really happening, his brother, James Taylor. And Livingston Taylor was starting to make a come into the scene. And Alex, so, the Taylor brothers, James, Livingston, and Alex. Alex was more of a blues, soul kind of guy. I guess that's why, you know, he liked my drumming.
It's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So, we were up in Martha's Vineyard for a while, and I was like, wow, James Taylor, and it was a big deal to me because James was real, he was somebody. Alex was just starting to turn that corner, and anyway, I did a record. Some of the studio work was from Martha's Vineyard, and then the rest of it was in New York City.
Okay.
But so that was about 2 years with him, and that came to an end. I don't know, Alex. I don't want to talk too much about. Alex had a serious alcohol problem, so he kind of faded out. And Jimmy and I said we were kind of buddies, and he said, "Listen, I know this guy, Gary St. Clair, in Washington over here, man, and why don't me you just travel there and meet Gary?" So there we go, off to Washington, and Gary St. Clair, who is up here in the Antelope Valley.
Yes,
Never
he
heard
is.
of the guy.
He's doing a record, Dr. Rock and Roll or
Yep.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we worked with him for about 6 months, and it didn't really fall in place real good. So I left the band, came back to Philly, and because my wife was there, and I married a girl from Philadelphia, and I went back to Philly, and it was 1980 by then. And then what happened was I get a call from the singers from the Soul Survivors. Hey, we're doing a movie soundtrack out here in Topanga, Skyline Studios. We need a drummer. It's going to be about a 3-month gig. I said, okay. They said, we'll send you the ticket. Get out here right away, man. So got on the plane, Topanga and Skyline Studios for the next 3 months, and we did 14 tracks for this movie called Man on the Moon. And I don't think it ever took off real big or anything, but it was fun. It was a fun thing. I liked Topanga anyway. It was, kind of a nice hang, man.
Sure, yeah.
And so anyway, 3 months of that, and I called up my wife because I made pretty good.
My wife?
Yeah, my money. My pockets were fat, from that 3 months in the studio.
Yeah.
But you didn't tell her that, right?
Well,
It's been my experience that you don't want to just volunteer that info.
I met somebody out here, and another lady that started hooking up with me, and I said, before this gets going, I better get my wife out here, man, before something gets started.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, smart move.
So, yeah, I called her up, and she moved out here, and that was the beginning of '81. Okay, and so I ran into my buds. They were all out here. Freddie and Neil Larson and Sam Moore, and everybody's out here again.
Yeah.
Here I am. Hey, Beedo's here, man. All right. You're back in town. So anyway, right after that, Freddie was working with Etta James at that time. Whoa. And he got in Etta's ear and said, I got this funky drummer, man. Why don't you take a listen? So I came by a rehearsal. I hit a few licks with him, and Etta said, you got the gig. So that was '81. I was with her up until '85, I guess. Yeah, 3 years, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so Etta James, wow. That was the fun gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a real fun gig.
Yeah.
I enjoyed working with Etta immensely. A lot.
Well, and we were just talking about something before Davey got here and we started recording. there was a name that she had for certain kinds of fills that you use. Talk about that.
Arts and crafts, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. When the first gig that I did with her was up in San Francisco, and anyway, that one of her tunes, the ballad "At Last," we got start the tune. The gig started with that tune, and anyway, here we go. We're into the tune, and I wasn't real familiar with the tune, but I knew it was a ballad, and back off a little bit, and so we're in the tune, and I'm hitting tom-tom fills, and bang bang, da-doom, da-doom, doom, and she turned around to me and said, "Hey, Beedo, cut that arts and crafts shit. That arts and crafts, cut it out."
Yeah.
And Freddie turned to me and said, the fills.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was it. That was Etta telling me,
Yeah.
cool it, keep it down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and there's many stories with Etta.
Yeah.
I was telling him the story that we were in New Orleans, and we had an 8-tune medley, Otis Redding and a lot of soul tunes. Anyway, we were into the third tune at this club on Mardi Gras, So what happened was, bang, the power goes out on stage, everything, the mics, no power on stage. We're into the third tune. Etta turns around to me and says, "Don't you stop playing, motherfucker. Don't you stop." So here we are on the third tune, and it was just Etta and me. And her voice, this was a club of maybe 1,000 people, 1,200, a room that size.
Yeah.
And her voice just got like giant, man. And it was just her and I. This another, quintessential story about Etta. You know.
Well, that her voice could carry that through a power outage is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you too. So, what was your tour environment like with that? How many shows a week are you doing? It's like long drives. Like, what's the everyday working environment like?
She was. We'd stay on the road for like 8 weeks.
Okay.
We'd stay out there for a while. And 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and we'd travel in this crazy bus. It wasn't a up to date tour bus. It was kind of just your regular bus with seats, and her and her husband would sit in the back, and they would be loading up the bus with a little bit of smoke and whatever, but she liked her smoke, man. She enjoyed her weed. But we travel in that bus, man, and it was in that raggy bus from San Francisco to New Orleans, from New Orleans to back East Coast. Wow, it was a situation that you really had to get used to, being on the road like that. It was wild.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it wasn't a comfortable tour bus.
Right. I was going to say, I'm picturing when I've seen those old movies, like where they're showing bands touring in like the 50s and 60s, like those big Motown review shows where it's just rows of like leather seats and nowhere to sleep.
That was it.
Yeah.
Seated charter buses. Who needs that? That doesn't make any sense.
Hey, that's his seat. Yeah, get out of there, man. You'd sleep on the the seat across the way.
Yeah. How big was that band all together with all?
Well, she always kept 2 horn players, a trumpet and a sax.
Okay.
With her, at that time. So it was like, guitar, bass, drums, keyboard, and 2 horn players.
Gotcha.
And that was pretty much the road band.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of people for one charter bus, man.
Yeah. 6 people in that bus. That's right.
Yeah.
And, traveling, it was, when you stop, it wasn't always, because that was her style, Hey, there's this hamburger stand. Hey, Beedo, stop and get me 6 hot dogs. Give me a half a dozen hamburgers. And this is what, we were eating like crazy, I was praying to get to the hotel.
Yeah.
When are we going to get to the hotel so I can get a good meal?
Yeah, right.
Looking for a good meal, man, that's all.
Yeah.
And a good place to sleep for a couple nights.
Yeah.
We went across the pond. I did two gigs with her in England. And then another one over in Denmark, Netherlands, through there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, we were there for a month. I guess 3 weeks, a month maybe.
Yeah.
And that was comfortable living. I mean, they took care of us good over there.
Yeah.
I would have liked to stay over in Europe
right?
more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a little nicer over there on the circuit.
Yeah. But
so I wanted to ask you, just kind of putting the tour life on pause for a second, and if you want to chime in with any questions here, feel free. You've been through a lot of different music scene communities, and environments. So in the 60s in New York with sort of the hippie scene there, and then in Woodstock, in the city, and then moving to Woodstock, and then Philadelphia and being involved in the studio scene there, and then again LA, sort of at the end of the 70s, and the whole Topanga Canyon vibe, and that whole scene.
Yeah.
And in all those places, is there a lot of, people just getting together to play? Is there a lot of just spontaneous jam session, writing, recording? Like
Woodstock.
Woodstock was like that?
Those 3 years up there, that house that we stayed in, the band would come by, all those players. But we had Bonnie Raitt would come, Van Morrison. Everybody would come by. We had that garage, which was huge, man, on the house. And that's where we were.
Yeah.
We were playing. I don't know. There was a bass player that worked, being that you're a bass player.
Yeah.
But Rod Hicks.
Okay.
You ever hear of Rod Hicks?
No.
No. This guy was, man, he was on the scene with us up there all the time. And he was like, he worked with Butterfield.
Okay.
He was Butter's regular bass player for years, man. But I remember waking up in the morning, man, and the daylight was just coming through, and there's Hicksy out between the trees with his Fender bass and his upright bass, and the daylight was just coming through, and there was Hicks out there, man. I said, man, what are you doing out here? He said, you got to hear the birds. Listen, man, it's out there. All that sound, it's out there. And he'd stay out there, man, for hours and be playing. This was a guy you got to look in, Rod Hicks.
Yeah,
look him up, man.
Up.
He was a great upright bass player. He was also a blues, Fender bass player that was really in the pocket. But I enjoyed those 3 years that was a time period that I really, it's like in my mind I loved it. It was just so much fun. Talk about jamming and playing, we were always with somebody, making music, man. It was great.
Yeah, so just getting together to play every day, and then, working on your own stuff, and then getting together to write. And that's awesome.
That was a period in time that I think I enjoyed the most, out of all that time.
Yeah. The most free, maybe, with just being able to do whatever you could musically.
Yeah. With Hicksy, I even got into, we get into jazz kind of thing, too, a little bit of that. Real freedom, kind of playing.
Yeah.
And because Sanborn used to love that. Get off on it, man. He would like blow. Sanborn was an alto sax player. My father came up to Woodstock and heard David Sanborn, and told me and told Dave. He listened to Dave at a jam in the house, and he said, you're gonna be big. You're a guy that everybody's gonna know about, man.
Yeah.
And David Sanborn is like,
Oh, yeah.
he's one special cat, man. I'm telling you, he's a player.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my dad called it. He said, this guy is going to be big. He's going to be somebody.
Yeah.
And sure enough,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows Dave Sanborn.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, that must have been great too. Just see, your mom and your dad seeing how you were able to get these gigs, and that you had following your instinct proved the right move. At the time when you did it.
Yeah, I made a good living. Had a good, living out of what I did, and still doing it.
Yeah,
You're doing it with us.
Yeah.
I got this LA Southbound thing going on here.
Yeah.
Which, there's my book, and if anyone is interested, Life is a Journey. Here's my book right here. Amazon.com. You could, there's a biography in here of a lot of the stories and then some of my life. So put in John Beedo Dzubak.
Yeah.
Life is a Journey, Amazon. This book is still out there. Every once in a while they run sales on it. So it's a good read. It's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, man.
So,
we'll have a link up and down.
Yeah, in that description for the people that want to save their typing fingers, you'll find a description to not only Beedo's music but the book in there if you want to check out more about more about him and everything he's got going on. And about this band, the LA Southbound thing, I don't know if you've heard it, being as close with Mark as you are.
Can't say that I have. He tells me nothing.
Okay.
Everyone hides their good stuff from me because they know I'm a thief.
Oh, yeah.
They know I'm big on that. Like, I'm sampling it. That's what I tell them.
There you
Bro,
go.
I sampled
there
your
you
shit.
go.
No big deal. NBD.
Yeah. Well, it's really like kind of
Tell me about it.
It's a mix of all of your different influences, I hear, because there's stuff in it that's, more straight blues. There's stuff in it that's New Orleans-y, second line stuff. There's, just funk. There's ballads. It covers pretty much a whole range of stuff. And getting a little more context into how you came up in the music scene, that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we got there's two CDs. The first one is just LA Southbound. The second CD is called Moving On.
Yeah.
And that one is,
that works.
so there's two of them. The first one has 10 tunes. Moving On is 8 tunes. And then right now, there's 4 singles out as well. We're getting ready. By August, maybe September, the 3rd CD will be out with those 4 singles, and which we just did here.
Okay.
Those are the tunes that Peace Brother, Get to Be One, Angel, Alone, and those 4 tunes will be on that new CD.
Awesome.
So by September there'll be a 3rd CD, and they're on all the streaming stations: Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Amazon. You can listen. You'll find us and YouTube. Put in LA Southbound.
There you go.
You probably are there right now. Hard pause. Take a gander. Come back.
Yeah. Feel free to pause this to go listen to Beedo's music right now.
You have a 7-minute break. Go ahead.
Yeah.
2 tunes in, come back.
Exactly.
Yeah. the tunes are cooking on YouTube. That's right.
There you go.
That's awesome.
So,
I was going to say, I know you.
I know you.
I tend to go
I don't
for
know your
more
middle
of the,
name, but I know
I
you.
tend to go for more of the broad, sort of philosophical life questions, but I know you kind of get into more of the technical nitty gritty. So, is there anything that through this conversation you wanted to ask about with, musicality and such?
No, I don't care about musicality at all. I do want to
Fair
ask
enough.
about like things that you were like. What kind of music were you playing along to when you came up, young as you were, when you started playing and stuff, and as serious as you were with lessons and stuff, Beedo? Like, what were you listening to that was turning you on? Your dad was trying to get you to listen to jazz, but what specific artists were like really driving your train?
well, there was in Albany on Central Avenue. There was a club. Forget the name of the club, but I used to sneak out of the house, go by this. It was in a black neighborhood, and I used to go by sit in front of the club, and listen to this band called J.R. and the Impressions, and they used to play a lot of that Motown and Temptations kind of tunes,
Yeah.
Impressions kind of tunes, and I loved it, man. I watched that drummer, and it was right that R&B, that soul pocket kind of, and it just that hit me. That's it. That's what I want to do. That's the style.
Yeah.
So I grew into that. That's how I grew into that soul, R&B, just listening to these guys, man.
Yeah.
And back then, the musicians, black musicians, were even cool. They were way cool.
Yeah.
The hair was conked to the bone, they used to call it, man. And the pants were up real high and patent leather shoes, and it was that whole style, man. I just liked it, So to bring that into it, that's where I got my roots from. That's it's basically my roots. Is that R&B soul kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah, you're
That's
getting a
it.
lot of exposure firsthand. You have to be in it and see it and,
Yeah.
feel it in the moment.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Because I was 14, 15 at that time, and
Yeah.
looking in the window, man, at these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And then I remember, I'll never forget this too, because my uncle, I had an uncle who was associated with this club that James Brown
Oh,
and
man.
the band was going to be playing there. So I said, Uncle Mike, you got to get me in.
Yeah.
You got to get,
Yep.
it's 18. The law is I got to be 18, but come on, get me in. I want to see James Brown bad, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jesus, I'll never forget that. At that time, James Brown had 3 drummers, because, the music was just high energy, kicking all the time.
Yeah.
And there wasn't one drummer that could keep the groove with James.
Yeah.
He was smoking, man, one tune after another. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da, bang, that, hitting
Yep.
again. So he had 3 drummers, and he worked the hell out of them, man. And I remember that show I watched. He had horn players. He had a full horn section with him. And, man, it was exciting. That also grabbed me, and that got me into what I like again, but, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm about not only that, because you'll hear that in this
Oh, yeah.
music, but
Yeah.
but that's the feel that I got.
Yeah.
Hell's yeah.
How big was that place you were seeing them? And like around
James?
Yeah, it was like a small little club or something.
No, it was what was it? Maybe 600-700
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty fair size
Oh yeah.
club, good
Clubs
size
used to
room.
be bigger because people
Yeah.
Those things were more of a thing.
I don't know if you know that Palomino Club in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in North Hollywood, so
Okay.
I'm familiar.
Well, it's similar to that.
Okay.
Remember
Okay.
the size of it? In fact, I worked there with Etta James and Bonnie Bramlett.
Whoa, really?
I did that show there, man.
Need a burrito.
And in fact, that's where that was my first
I'm a
time
Bonnie and Delaney head,
doing
so
a
that's
show.
tight.
Yeah. Bonnie and Delaney? You know
Yeah,
them, huh? I
yeah,
worked-
because I'm a Clapton nerd, so I got into it after
yeah.
going through like, ugh.
Bonnie is great, man.
Yeah, they're really
But,
fucking heavy.
Yeah.
They're part. I feel like they get into that soul sound though.
Yeah.
I think they bring
Bonnie's
that.
got a soulful voice.
Yeah.
Oof, man. That was the first gig that I did. No drugs, no alcohol. Sober.
Oh man.
2 hour
What did you do that
show.
for, Beedo?
2 hours and 15 minutes. I kicked it all the way. And at the end of the show, the guys in the band came up to me. You kicked us off the stage, brother.
Yeah.
You was on fire. You were burning.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, thanks, man. Oh, shit, no kidding.
Well, good for
I
you,
guess
man.
I can do this stuff without any drugs or alcohol,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Did it feel super different being that first time? Because like, I'm gonna say somebody in recovery. Like, first time I played a show like not fucked up was weird.
Yeah.
It felt kind of like time traveling. I was like, I feel everything, and I can see everybody looking at me and shit.
Exactly.
And it just felt like time slowed down hard, and I was like, I'm not fucking high.
Yeah.
So it just like so therefore it wouldn't stop, and I had to live through each moment and be like, wow, I can really tell that I'm not hitting the right note right there, and then right there. I just remember that being quite a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. And in fact, I'm still sober.
No, good for you,
Many
man.
years, yeah.
Geologic sober
I
time
get
now.
to you get to feel it. You get to really, I mean, it is. It's a whole different, it's a whole different thing because
Yeah.
you feel everything, and life is totally different.
Yeah.
It is. It's really easy to recommit to a lot of things, especially music. I felt like so.
Yeah.
It leads to a new approach.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask, what's a genre or even maybe an artist that you feel you've always enjoyed to listen to or admired or been influenced by that isn't in the wheelhouse, so to speak, of like R&B and soul?
Miles Davis.
Oh,
Woo!
yeah. Love Miles. Love Miles.
I love Miles.
I can't even make a pithy like joke about anything right now. 'Cause we're talking about Miles. I just-
No, it's just that's it. It was the first, not the first jazz I ever listened to, but the first jazz artist I really dove in on and really fell in love with.
Nice.
I liked jazz here and there, but that was the first person I bought albums from and like listened to the albums and
Yeah, he did so much with crossover stuff.
Yup.
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, I love nearly all the periods of Miles. So I love the '50s stuff that's with Philly Joe Jones and Red Garland and that whole
Philly
lineup.
Joe.
The Round Midnight kind of era, and then you get that
The Bill Evans
Kind of
stuff,
Blue,
too.
which is my first album. I started me on that. It's a classic, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the '60s stuff like Milestones, and you're getting more out there, and even like the fusion stuff he did, like Bitches Brew and all that,
Bitches
the '70s,
Brew,
On the
whoa.
Corner, all that stuff. And now I've even started to get into the '80s Miles, which is just weird, and it's probably his weirdest, most out there stuff. And
A lot of
that's
synth situations happening from what I remember.
yeah, and it's
Interesting layers.
yeah, and before I was just I'm not so much into like the synthy side of things, but like this past year I've been listening to some of that stuff, man, and it's great.
It's on a different level. Is the
Yep.
part of it.
Off the hook. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a song called "What It Is" that's starts off with a really
What It
intense, really intense slap bass thing,
Oh.
and then he's doing this. It's almost like this atonal thing with like by the time they blend all the parts with like the bass is doing dum 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 bum bum bum.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then the drums come in just basically mimicking that same pattern, and he's kind of countering that on the trumpet. But then when the song kicks in, the guitar kicks in, it's like this, and then the synths and all that, it's just kind of, it's chaotic, man, but I love it.
It's a gumbo.
Yeah, it's still funky, though. It's chaotically funky.
Chaotically funky.
So,
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. So wrapping things up, I would truly regret it if I didn't get the story behind how you hooked up with Dr. John, and a little bit about you playing with him.
Here's the Dr. John story.
Yeah.
Katie Segal, who was married to Freddie Beckmeyer. That was her first marriage. And I got to know Katie, pretty well. And anyway, she was doing a gig with Bonnie Bramlett up the Belly Up in where is it? San Diego, I think. It's up that
Solana
way.
Beach. Yeah, I work the Belly Up usually, minus COVID, usually like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
With different bands. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we got a gig up here. Freddie says, hey, called me up and said, listen, Bonnie and Katie are doing a duo together up at the Belly Up, and why don't you want to do the gig? I said, hell yeah, man, sure. It's 2 nights, and no telling who's going to show up. Okay, let's do the gig. So anyway, Dr. John, the second night, happened to show up, and he did the show with us.
Yeah.
And oh man, I just when I heard he was going to be there the second night, I got together with him in the afternoon, and we ran over a couple of tunes. And he said to me, he turned around and said, hey, listen, Beedo, I got to give you a nickname, man. He said, I'm going to call you Terrible Toe.
Yeah.
Terrible Toe,
Yeah.
man. He said, you got something going on at New Orleans. They almost forgot that, man, and you got it. He said, so next time I run into you, I ain't going to call you Beedo. It's going to be Terrible Toe.
Yeah.
So it was like, I really enjoy Mac, man. He passed away just recently.
Sadly.
Yep.
And I got to, run into him a few more times back and forth, and then never did any more gigs with him, but because he worked by himself a lot.
Yeah.
And not, it depends. Festivals and where it called for a band, then he would put a band together.
Yeah.
And, it just so happened that I was never around at that time to get called for another gig with him. But that's the story with Dr. John and me.
Well, hey, man, I was going to say, that's, get some interaction with him and getting to play with him, man.
Yeah.
Absorb some of that.
That second line, I got into that a lot too.
Yeah.
That New Orleans Fat Tuesday second line drumming.
Yeah.
I developed that. Being that he called me Terrible Toe, I said, I got to listen to more of this New Orleans second line feel.
It was like, you never know. I don't want to get the phone call and not live up to the hype, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's that story. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Cool, man. It's been so great having you come into the studio and hang out after we did our thing in there and getting to talk with you about this stuff first.
I'll tell you, that was fun. That was a lot of fun doing that. It's always fun working with you, man.
Yeah, likewise,
I like
man.
it.
I like it. I'm such a music nerd, and that, I listen to a lot of old school stuff, and I, kind of study some of the old session players that I really like, especially bass players, Jamerson, Jerry Jamont, all those guys, the Muscle Shoals people, it's like all those guys. And
how about the new stuff? Like, are you hip to, well, I'm sure you are, Marcus Miller.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Marcus Miller.
Yeah, I was going to say, when he slapped Teen Town, that was blew my mind,
He's like, another one, man.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's, on my A-list again. I love Marcus Miller.
Yeah.
He produced a couple of Sanborn records.
Yeah.
He worked with Sanborn quite a bit.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, he's
in
incredible.
that jazz pocket.
Yeah, but I always love hearing you play because it's, I listen to so much of that old school music and knowing that's where you come from session-wise. Anytime, you call me up and say, hey, I want you to play bass on a couple of my tracks, it's like, okay, yeah, great. And just being in the studio and hearing you play is always fascinating because it's
Thank you.
it has a touch that is very unique to your experience, and a sound that's unique to you that I always enjoy getting to play with, man. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so cool. Please check out LA Southbound. We'll have links in the description to all of that. And check out Beedo's book, Life is a Journey. We'll have that in the description below. Thank you so much, Beedo. And you're welcome back here anytime, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Charmed, I'm sure.
Yeah. Did you really lose blood? I don't know, but
where?
I don't know, but you would still show up.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't have been the first time like I'd lost a life-threatening amount of blood and showed up for a thing I was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just
to do.
Your hat and your shirt just kind of say that like I show up no matter what's going on.
Is that what my hat and my shirt say?
Let's
unpack that.
I just needed a device.
They say like no matter what.
No, that was a.
They say like it's not good enough for normal, but I gotta be there.
Well, no, because it's like you could go, well, blank says that about you, and it's like I had nothing other than like, what am I gonna say? Like your beard? It's like, oh no, the fucking
beard.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're golden.
Oh,
And no, I
boy.
didn't lose any blood, but you're very considerate to be concerned.
Yeah, I'm just checking.
No, like no.
I mean, that's
some
also
of my
why I wasn't.
soul has leaked out, and I'm a little less of a real person. But there's
okay.
nothing to be done about that, and everybody's also doing that, and you're probably like, yeah, I get that, and you feel less sympathetic because you're like, I'm going through that right now.
No, I've been bad. Been better lately.
Been bad?
Yeah, I've been better
Sinbad?
lately. Yeah,
One of my favorites.
I've been Sinbad lately.
Is this Sinbad? That's
Yeah.
cool. So he didn't get canceled. He just disappeared.
Yeah.
I'd rather get canceled.
He didn't get canceled. He just went bankrupt a bunch of times.
Yeah, ouch. Yeah.
Yeah. No judgment. Hey, life's complicated.
No, I'm just like you were making Sinbad money, but you were living like you were making like Chris Farley money, dog.
I mean,
We all know how that ended up.
yeah.
2 slams for the price of 1.
Yeah. All right.
Fan slam.
A fan slam.
When a lifelong fan slams his idol.
Yeah.
You look horrified.
No, we're
We're descending from the mist.
yeah,
or something.
Descending from the mist.
And disengage? I don't know.
Yeah. Pull the ripcord. Parachute in.
Far out.
Far out.
I'm with it.
Yeah. All right.
So on a scale of 1 to 137, only using prime numbers as indicators, how well did we do?
Well, I would say as far as where I would rank it, I would say at least 135.8. At least. Maybe
since
100.
you made a 0.8, it's definitely gonna. I mean, it's not prime, but it's definitely only divisible by itself in 1. So
Yeah.
you win this round.
There you go.
But
That's my critique of this episode this week.
So good.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's funny because I always, I wasn't sure if Beedo had seen the podcast or if he knew what it was, and just a little honest moment from a host perspective. There always is a slight bit of trepidation if it's like, well, I'm not sure if this person has seen the podcast or gets what it's about and all of that, and so it's like I wonder if we'll be able to get on and have a decent conversation, and have a good time. And with him, it's like he's so full of stories that it's like you just kind of get started on it, and just for me, it's like, okay, I'll find places to interject, and when I think of a question, I'll ask it, but it's also like I want to hear what he's talking about. So some podcasts, it's more of a back and forth conversation. Other podcasts, it's like I'm just kind of watching this conversation happening, and I'm like, okay, where's a good moment to chime in here and ask a question that comes to mind,
Totally, dude.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that's kind of that brings to mind is that we have both the resources and the foresight to do what a lot of other podcasts would do in a situation like this with this type of guest. They would run way longer and edit it down so that there's always a balance of coverage. So, especially depending on how the host is, but it's like we're not about ourselves in that way. That's the one thing, like, the two of us are not like that as people.
Right.
So I think it's like what really matters, though, is like the quality of the story matters a lot. And clearly, Beedo's stories are like, it's like his personability shines through. And you're talking about shit that it's like, the last time I heard stories about somebody that like worked one-to-one with those people, I was reading Eric Clapton's fucking autobiography, bro.
Right.
So it's mostly like, I know when it's, STFU time for myself.
Yeah.
So that was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel what you're saying though. It's different, but I never question whether somebody knows a podcast because I'd rather catch someone unawares and leave them with egg on their face because I'm a social bully because of my social anxiety.
Fair enough. Yeah,
and I'm just like, this moment is my ability to talk shit has always been my equalization. So I'm just like but he gave me no opening because the stories are so good. It's like you can't interrupt the dude just to fuck around with a story.
Well, right. No, and for me, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to, as much as, like I said, I'm a music nerd with all of these different things, I don't want to chime in and go, well, yeah, it's like
bloody school.
Yeah. Right,
accent?
But then again, it's like I don't want to, chime in, and then it's like, oh, you obviously went to Harvard, yeah, it's like,
apples. Yeah,
I
got a number.
Yeah, it's like just because I'm aware of this information from seeing it in a documentary or reading a book, it's like, well, you were kind of there, and I wasn't, so it's like I'd rather hear your firsthand account of it, and then chime in where it's like, oh, well, let me ask you this, and it's just. I feel that way it's like, gives somebody like that a chance to like express their story in a way that they might not be able to otherwise,
You've always said, I want to give the young up-and-comers a chance. And he said, that's why I want Beedo on.
I was going to say,
he said that several times
this
before
kid's all right.
Yeah.
This
young blood, he's edgy, but I like him. I like his style.
Yeah,
man. I said, fine, bring him on board.
Yeah.
I was like, you vouch for people, and if it goes wrong, I take it out on you.
Oh.
Not them.
Oh, my.
I'd be like, Jesse said you were cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to pound him.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That never happens.
Full of shit.
Full of shit, bro. He's crazy. No, that was a wonderful time.
Yeah. Well, cool, man.
Yeah. Cool beans. Should we break the lava lamp and run for it? No, citizens, shut up. Listen.
Oh, all right.
Tell them the stuff we do at the end.
Well, I was going to say we appreciate you very much, as always, for following us through this journey of creative exploration. And we appreciate the likes, the shares, comments, although Davey's living for him. Let's be honest here. It's if I can speak on the royal we, as Jeff Bridges would say.
Here's the reveal.
Yeah.
The blood loss was real because I donated 5 pints of blood to the Citizen Blood Drive.
Plot twist.
And you weren't there.
No.
I texted you 40 times, bro. Check your texts.
I was going to say, not one
was it that old iPhone
day.
Is not working so good or something? Is
this
iPhone?
is an 8, sir.
Oh, it's an 8? Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. You got a time capsule on your hip, dog. I'm impressed.
You know what?
Me and my busted-ass Android are like...
that's I was going to say, this is...
I mean busted.
This is fine. I had a 4S long after it was acceptable to use one, and then this was my upgrade a couple of years ago.
Well, you doubled it, so...
Yeah.
You're in it to win it, man.
Eventually I'll get a 12 when we have that fucking Elon Musk chip in our head, and nobody needs a phone anymore.
By the time we just talk out loud and everyone hears it anywhere.
Yeah.
You'll be like, look what I got.
Yeah. So,
that's a tangent.
Yes, I was going to say, and also, thank you, citizens, for being appreciative of our tangents. Anybody you would like to see on the show, hit us up in the DMs. Any bands or any artists that we might not be aware of that would be cool to chat with via Zoom, chat with via a human-to-human contact like we did in the good old days. Or
non-human.
Or non-human. I don't know. There's a lot of weird videos floating around lately. A lot of weird craft up in the sky.
Questions about stuff that's flying around, floot-de-doot.
I'm just saying, it's like aliens.
Planet X is coming around.
Got a whole seat on the
Watch
couch
out for it.
open. Got a whole jam room. Nobody in it. Just saying.
Just saying.
So, thank you once again, and tune in next week for continued tangents and conversations and adventures from the two of us.
Lovely.
Lovely.
We dream of you. We seek to better you and ourselves. And so go watch every episode twice this week and take notes. There'll be a quiz, and we love you.
City Council was created by Jesse Davidson and Davey Sipes and engineered by Max Taylor at Desert Sound Studio in Palmdale, California. Thank you to Disaster Cabinet for the outro music. Intro music written by Max Taylor. Sonic City Council is produced in association with AMPS Music Academy and the Showcase Venue. For more information, visit theshowcasevenue.com.